Hello everyone, Courtney here from How to Loom Your Dragon. Welcome to my second painting tutorial. Okay, to see the first one, just go check it out on my channel. There is a link in the description for the first painting tutorial as well if you want to try it out. Many of you have sent me pictures of the paintings you've made and they look absolutely wonderful, and I've been getting a lot of requests for a second tutorial, so here we go. This tutorial is going to be a painting of a winter scene with cardinals, okay? Again, we will be doing silhouettes, which pretty much are the dark shapes, but they're good when we start learning how to do animals and everything, to start with silhouettes first. Okay, so for this tutorial, you're going to need white paint. I'm using acrylic again, like I did during the first tutorial. You need white paint, black paint. I always recommend the Mars black over the ivory black. Some green. It doesn't really matter what shade of green, really. This is Hooker's green. And then blue. And this is an ultramarine blue. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Whatever blue you want to use, whatever green you want to use, doesn't matter. Okay, you're also going to need, I recommend getting some Jello shot plastic containers to store mixed paint in. I'm actually using baby food containers because they are perfect and they have the lids and everything. So I would recommend you get 3 of those, okay, to store mixed paint in for this tutorial. And then if you have a palette, I left mine at the studio, so I am using a paper plate. You don't really need the palette for very much in this tutorial. Of course, I recommend you using an old t-shirt to wipe off your brush after you've rinsed it. You need a cup of water or a bucket of water. I have a bucket with me. And then you need some brushes. So I recommend, we're going to need a very thin brush, okay, to do the details on the branches and the birds. So something like this, okay, skinny. Then I recommend getting like a medium-sized brush of any kind. I'm just going to use a flat one. It doesn't really matter. Okay, just a medium-sized one. And then I also recommend like a large one. Okay, this one is bent because I didn't store it properly. That's what happens. Like if you don't store things properly, they get all weird looking. But this was actually like a round tipped brush. Okay, so you learn your lessons as you go along. This is actually clean, but the bristles are dyed blue because I think I used oil paint at some point on this. Okay, so again, acrylic paint, fast drying paint, okay? We're not using oil, or you can use tempera, but acrylic is always the best because the tempera tends to lift up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take one of our containers and we're going to mix like a medium bluish green wintry blue color. So I'm going to take my container and I'm going to take my blue paint, squeeze it in. We want to make a decent amount here, so I'm squeezing about that much in. Okay. I'm going to add a tiny bit of green, not a lot, because the green is only to make the blue look more earthy. Okay, so a little bit of green, like that. And I'm going to mix that up with my thick brush, okay? Mix it up. So you see now we have more of an earthy aqua-ish blue, which is what we want. We don't want that bright ultramarine blue, because that's not really the type of blue we see in nature. It's kind of hard to see the color blue here, but see, it's a very nice blue. Okay. Okay, what I'm going to do with this blue, once I've mixed it, make sure it's mixed really good on your brush and that you don't have like weird colors all on your brush. Ooh, I'm going to wipe it off. I'm also going to rinse my brush because it, like, wipe off as much paint as you can and then rinse the brush because we want a clean brush. So I'm going to rinse it really good, get all the paint off. Okay, dry it on the t-shirt. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the entire canvas this color. Okay, so I'm going to move everything out of the way. And the way I'm going to paint this is I'm going to kind of do random brush strokes like this. Okay, you can kind of see through the paint, that's normal. If yours is opaque, that's even better. Okay, if you can't see through, that's even better. Okay, so I'm just doing random brush strokes. Okay, this is different from the sunset painting where we did left and right brush strokes. This one, it's just very random. Okay. But we don't want chunks that are too thick, okay? So if there's chunks, you know, like if you have a big blob of paint, spread it out, because otherwise it'll take forever to dry, and we don't really want that, okay? So spread out, random brush strokes in all directions, okay? Okay, once we've covered the front of the canvas, we're, as usual, going to do the edges too. And the reason we do the edges is so that if you want to hang it up, it looks really nice, and you don't even need a frame to hang it. Okay, so same thing, random strokes on the edges. Okay, your hands are probably going to get messy from this project, but it is water-based paint, so you can wash your hands and it will come off. But if it gets on your clothes, it is permanent, so just be aware of that. I recommend you wear a smock or old clothes when you paint. I really like this blue. This is a very pretty blue. I like this blue. Okay. I want to make sure you didn't miss any spots. Okay, again, spread out the chunks if there are any chunks. A nice, even. Okay, so once you've painted everything, and the edges as well, I'm just going to lay this to the side. Okay, I'm just putting it on the table flat. Okay. I'm going to rinse my, actually no I'm not, because we're using this to mix other colors. I'm just going to mix up my paint in here to make sure it's perfectly mixed and everything's mixed up. So mixing that blue, okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out some of the blue onto my brush and put it in a second container. Okay, so I'm just going to pull out some, it's going to be messy, figures. Okay, like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some white and I'm going to mix it into the blue. We are creating a tint here. A tint is a color mixed with white. So I'm going to put a glob of white in there. Oops. And then you want to mix that. So this is our tint. Mix it really good. Now this is a little too light, okay? We want this actually to be a little bit darker. So what are we going to do? We're going to put more of the blue in, okay? I'm going to rinse my brush, okay, because we don't want to put the light blue into the dark blue. So I'm rinsing the brush out, drying it on the shirt. Pull out some more of the blue and mix that in. Okay, still kind of light. So I'm actually going to use another brush so I don't have to rinse this out again. There's however you want to do it. I'm going to grab a bunch more, drop it in there. I'm just going to use this brush to drop it in, and I'm going to use this brush to mix it. Okay, this is a better tint, okay? It's a little bit darker. It can be tricky to mix everything perfectly, but okay, so I made this tint, and there's not a lot of paint in here, which is okay. We don't need a lot of this color. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to put the lid on this light color. Keep it wet. We don't want that to dry out, okay? So put the lid on that. We're going to rinse out the brush again. Grab another empty container. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm grabbing another empty container. And we're going to pull out a little more of the blue into the other container. Okay. And then we're going to put a little bit of black in to make this is going to be a really dark blue, but just a dab, okay? It's almost completely black. It's okay. So now we have our really dark shade. A shade is a color plus black. Tint is a color plus white. A shade is a color plus black. It almost looks completely black. That's fine. Whatever. Not a big deal. Okay. So anyway, there's a little bit in there. There's not a lot, but whatever. Okay, I'm going to put the lid on that. Okay, and I'm going to rinse my brush again. So I have my tint of blue and my shade of blue and my regular blue. Okay, rinsing my brush. Really good. It's regaining its normal shape. That's good. Kind of. Okay, so now I'm going to close this one up as well. So let's close all three containers. And now I'm going to take my palette or paper plate, and we're just going to drop some white paint onto there, just plain white. Just put a bunch on there like that. Okay, then we can close up the white. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to take my painting. Hopefully it's about dry now. Not quite, but it's getting there. Alright, I'm just going to kind of blow on it a little bit. We want it to be pretty much dry because we will be putting white on it. And we don't want the blue to mix with the white, so we do want it to be dry completely. It might dry with a shine. Some acrylic paint is a little shiny when it dries, so it might look wet even though it's dry. Okay, so I'm going to hold up the screen. Just trying to dry it off for time's sake for this tutorial. Get back on there. Okay. So now I'm going to dry off my brush, make sure it's completely dry. Again, that thick brush. Make sure all your brushes are rinsed off, okay? If you have any dirty brushes, you don't want to leave them dirty, otherwise the acrylic paint will harden on the brush and ruin it. So we don't want any ruined brushes, okay? Tempera paint can wash out, but acrylic paint will ruin the brush. Okay, so it's pretty much clean. So now I'm gonna go into my white. So just the flat white that we made. Make sure the brush is nice and clean. Okay, dipping it into the white. And now I'm going to I'm going to dab it with the brush up here. So just watch where I'm dabbing. Okay, so I'm just dabbing. Okay, the top center, we're gonna make sort of like a V here. Okay, so I'm making a V, get more white, just dabbing. We want it to be kind of wintry looking, like snow, so I'm just going to continue this dabbing. Okay, and then let's not forget the top, or the edges. It's okay if you can see the blue through the white, that's a good thing. Okay, we just want it to look mostly white. And I'm just going to kind of dab the edge here, just kind of give it a blurry effect if we like dab randomly here, lightly, okay. Can even, it doesn't have to be a perfect V, it can be kind of an abstract looking V, like so maybe I want to put some white here, okay. But you do want to see the blots, sort of, okay, so that's why we're dabbing the whole time. We're not swiping, we're just dabbing. Okay, so we dabbed. Now, while it's still wet, I'm going to switch over to my tint. So this one, okay, we don't need to rinse the brush because we will be sort of blending it, okay? I'm going to grab some of my tint and blend the edges just by dabbing it here into the white, sort of. Okay, see how I am blending? Ah, I hate this. This easel. It's just bad. So just random blending here around the edge area, but we don't want to cover up all the white here. Okay, so just kind of keep it mostly at the edge. And then we want to obviously bring it a little farther, or get the edge here. Wherever it reaches the edge, you want to make sure you get the edge. Okay. Maybe I want to bring it down a little bit here. So now you can kind of see why we put the dark blue on first, because you can kind of see it through the other colors, which is really cool. So you kind of want to see that a little bit, the dark blue through these blues, okay? So there is my tint. Again, I'm going to blur the edge here. Kind of dab. Okay, now we're going to move to this color again. So the color that we put on in the beginning, which is the regular blue, the one that we mixed with the green, this one. And again, we don't need to rinse the brush. I'm just going to go in and use that blue now to dab this area. Okay. It's always best in paintings to work light to dark. Okay, that's a lesson. It's very helpful. Light to dark, not dark to light, like we didn't start with the black one and then move up. Okay, otherwise the brush would be all dirty. Okay, again, I'm getting the edges here. Okay. See how cool this is? Haha, I like it a lot. Okay, so we want to fill in most of this with this color, okay? Because the dark we only want to put at the very edges because we don't want to put too much of that dark in of the shade, you know, the shade we made. We don't want to put an overwhelming amount of that in. So we want the majority of this area to be this blue here. Can even bring it up a little bit. Okay, just have fun with it. Just as long as it, you know, generally blends from light to dark like that. Okay, and now I'm going to take my shade, which is the darkest. Okay, which is pretty much almost black. Okay, we only need a little bit of this. So I'm just going to go into it and just paint the very corners with this one. Okay, blend the edge and the edges, obviously. So I just get the bottom area here, because again, we want to get all our edges. Okay, just like that. Looks really cool. Okay, so generally we want it to look kind of like this. Okay, I'm going to lay it flat again, let it dry, and I'm going to rinse my brush. So we've done the majority of the background. Okay, we're going to add some snow in a little bit. Okay, dry your brush. Did not work. That didn't work. Okay, so this thick brush we're not actually using anymore, so we can kind of put that aside now. Make sure it's rinsed really good. You don't want to leave any acrylic paint on there or it's going to ruin the brush. Alright, now these containers with these tints and shades, we can just cover them up. You can save them for another project if you do another one. Okay, because we don't need them anymore. We only need white and black now. Okay, so I have my palette with some white left on it, which is good. Hopefully it won't dry too fast. And then I'm going to take my black and just put a little bit of black onto there as well. Just white and black, and that's it. Okay. Okay, so now we kind of just have to wait for paint to dry before we can move on to the next part. So I'm just going to blow on my painting for a minute. Okay, so I'm just waiting for it to dry. You can fix up your edges too if they look messy or not right. I'm just using these blues to just fix up my edges. Make sure my edges look good because I didn't really do the one edge that good. So I'm just fixing it up really quickly. Okay. Okay, I'm going to rinse my hands because they are full of paint and I want them to be clean. Acrylic paint. I love this paint, but it's actually not as messy as some other types of paint, like oil paint and stuff. That's really messy. And it doesn't come off with water, oil paint, so. Alright, so for the most part my hands are clean. And now, oops. Okay, so my painting's pretty dry. Wait till yours is completely dry, so you might have to wait a couple minutes, so just pause the video if it's not completely dry. We're going to put it back on. I keep thinking I can move this thing, but I can't. Stop moving! Okay, painting here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the black and our thin brush. Wherever it went. Thin brush, there it is. It's on the floor. Figures. Okay. So that skinny brush, remember? We're going to be using that. And what we're going to do is we're going to make some branches. Okay, so I'm going to go into my black skinny brush and I'm just going to draw the branches on. So we want to make these branches look realistic. Okay, now if you look at trees outside, you'll see that the branches coming out of the trunk are always thinner than the trunk. Okay, we want to remember that. It goes from thick to thin, and the branches are always thinner than the trunk, okay? So let's say I want to put a branch like, we're going to have to constantly be going back into our black for this. And the branch doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Now we're going to be putting birds on here. So you're going to think of where you want to put your birds. I recommend placing them near the white area so they can be seen easily. So wherever you're going to put them, you want there to be generally a flat area of the branch. Okay, like that. Okay, maybe I want another branch to come out from this direction. We're pretty much just drawing where we want branches to be. Now don't make the branches the same size, okay? Don't make them look exactly the same. No two branches are exactly the same. And see how I'm painting? I'm not painting out to in, I'm painting in to out. Okay, so this is kind of just sketching with paint where I want my branches to be. Okay, very thin. And just have fun with it. Don't make your branches too sharp, otherwise it's going to look like Halloween. So you can make some curvy branches, okay? You can put some sharp edges, like maybe I want a sharp edge like here. Okay, but don't put that all over your tree because I don't want that. And notice how all my branches are angled this direction and this direction. I'm not painting any branches that are bending backwards, okay? Because that's usually not how sticks look. Okay. And maybe something like up in this corner, maybe a couple little branches coming up here. Okay, maybe like that. Okay, so I have quote-unquote sketched my branches out with the paint, and now I'm going to thicken them, okay? Right now they're just skinny lines. So, branches, like I just said, they're always thicker. They always go from thicker to thinner, okay? So gradually I'm going to make this get skinnier, this branch. Okay, like that. Maybe I want it to come out like here. Okay, I didn't make it get thick here, okay? It went from thick to thin gradually, and maybe here. Remember, the branches are always thinner than the trunks they come out from. So don't make a branch that's like that thick, because it's not going to look right. And usually, if you look at sticks, you'll see that where one branch comes out, usually there's one on the other side. Almost always there's two. Like, see how here I put two coming out, one on each side. Ooh. I'm going to thicken up this branch. Okay, so I'm just adding body to my branches. Don't make them too thick though, okay? Try to make them pretty thin. Okay, so once I've added body, now this part can take a little while. We want to very gently shade them in, and you want your edges to be not soft. Okay, we want nice, crisp edges. You know how the edges are blurry in the background? We don't want that. We want nice, crisp edges. So you're going to have to go back into your paint about every 5 seconds, maybe every 3 seconds. Again, I'm using the Mars black. If you're using ivory black, chances are it's going to look see-through, and you're going to have to put another coat on. The Mars black is pretty good at being thick enough where you can just put one coat on of the black. And you know, like usual, I want to extend my branches onto the edges. Okay, so I'm going to paint the branch on the edge as well. And I want crisp edges here. Oops. I'm not following my own instructions. I almost painted out to in. Okay, so there's one nice looking branch. So now I want all of them to look like that, so now I'm going to work on this one. Oh, great. There's my dog barking. Be quiet, Pumpkin. Okay. Now this type of painting is fun because you can do different seasons. Like, so if you wanted to do fall, instead of doing like blue and white in the background, you could do like red and green and yellow and, you know, all those colors. And then instead of putting a bird on the branches, you could put like a squirrel or something. You could have like leaves falling. So if you end up wanting to do a different season, you can, and then just show me pictures because I'd love to see. And then I want to get my edges. Okay, oops, I didn't get this edge with the light blue very well. I want to fix that edge. I want to fix that edge. Okay, so make sure, you know, the black is filled in completely and your edges are nice and crisp and not blurry looking. And I'm going to just briefly fix that edge because it's really bothering me. So I'm going to even cheat and use my finger because I like to cheat when painting. Okay. Obviously I don't want to hit that black too hard and make it all muddy looking. Okay, so I did my branches, I did the edges. Now we're going to do the birds. Okay, I'm going to just rinse my brush so it's nice and thin and clean, even though we're going to go back to the black anyway. Alright, so you can do one bird, two birds, whatever you want to do on the branch. Okay, now when we paint animals, we always want to think of shapes. We always want to start with shapes. So a bird, we're going to start with the body. So go into your black. Now, we're going to paint an oval, but we want the oval to rest on the branch, okay? So we want the bottom of the oval to be touching the branch, and we don't want to make it too big, okay? So I'm just kind of quote-unquote sketching an oval on the branch. Okay. There's my oval. Maybe I want my second bird to be kind of leaning on the first bird, so I'm going to do my second oval, also touching the branch. Kind of leaning on the first, okay. Now we're going to do the heads. The heads are very small. Don't make your head like huge, okay? Birds' heads are small in comparison to their body. So I'm going to do a circle kind of intersecting with the oval a little bit. See that? Same thing here. Maybe I want this bird's head to be almost like touching the other one. Okay. Now let's do the tail. The tail is actually not that long, but it's kind of like a triangle, but it's got a little ridge at the end. Okay, so maybe make the tail come straight down from the oval. So whatever angle your oval is, make your tail the same angle. Okay, and then we want our wings. So I'm just going to kind of paint this shape coming out here, like the wing. Okay, we want the wings to be folded because they're resting on the branch. Okay, maybe the crest on the top of the head, very small like triangle. Okay, and I'm going to fill it in the black. We want the top of the bird to be slightly wider than the bottom. Okay, there's the tail. You can always change the edges slightly as well. Like so. Okay, so there are my two birds. Make sure everything's filled in. Oops, my fingers are just hanging over the edge there, sorry. I'm like resting my hand on the top of the computer. No. Okay, great, so there are our birds and our branches. Now we're just gonna add some snow. Okay, so I'm gonna rinse my brush. Rinse it really good because we're going to be going into white with it and we don't want to make gray. We want it to be completely clean. So now I'm just going to take my white. We're going to make some snow. Now don't just randomly put it on. Really think about where you're going to put the snow. Like I usually put mine in like clumps. Like so I'll put like some here. Now the harder you press, the bigger the snow is going to look. So make some different size ones. Like make some small snowflakes, make some large ones. So just put like some around. I'm not going to paint over the branches or the birds with the snowflakes. I'm just going to kind of go around. Okay, so I'm not just dabbing everywhere. Okay, I'm leaving like spaces. Looks better that way. Okay, and snow does clump a lot of the time, so. We're going to put it everywhere, even where the white areas appear, we're going to put some, okay? So just put some up here, again, some are thicker. See how I'm kind of grouping my snow a little bit. Even put some on the edge, okay? Okay, now once we've done that, we're gonna make some close-up snow. And how we're gonna do that is I'm going to take the white, I'm gonna put it on the canvas, and then I'm gonna take my finger and I'm going to swirl it and bring it out. And as it comes out, it'll look blurry, and that will give the illusion of a snowflake that's close up to the camera. Okay, so just kind of play with it. Don't put too many of these though. You only want to put like maybe 5. Okay, not too many. Okay, some of them look blurry. Oops, I don't want to overdo it. And then I'm going to take the white and I'm just going to whiten the middle. Okay, just like that. And we want to make some, let's make some small ones too, because we don't want them all to be exactly the same size. So I'm just going to blur some smaller ones. Okay, just like this. That looks cool. Oops, that ended up looking like a big one, but oh well. Okay, let's maybe put one in here. Okay, and then you can just go around and just fix your snow drifts, maybe add some, because a lot of the time snow sticks together, so if you put like little dots kind of touching each other, it'll give the illusion of snow that's sticking together. Just don't do it everywhere, just do it, you know, on a few. Okay, just like this. And there we have our beautiful painting. Okay, don't forget to sign. I'm actually going to sign. A lot of artists like to hide their signatures. I'm going to put mine along the branch here. Very small signature. And then a lot of people like to write the year as well on their paintings, but you don't have to. But if I want to, oops. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. 2015. And there we go. Okay, everybody. I would like to shout out to, I believe it is Molly, who I had actually originally started an art channel just for art, but I didn't get that many subscribers to it, so I'm just uploading my art onto my regular channel. But I'm shouting out Molly because she was the first subscriber to the art channel. Although I'm probably not going to be putting anything on the art channel. Yay, Molly, thanks for being the first. Okay, so Molly, make the painting, yay. Okay, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope your painting turns out great. Definitely show me pictures on Facebook and Instagram, and check out the Etsy shop in the description. Buy some original paintings and rainbow loom things from me. Okay? Have a wonderful day, and enjoy your painting.